Danny watches a lot of television and movies. John does not. Listen in as she tells him about what she's watching, and he tries to make sense of it all. Welcome to Watching My Stories with Danny and John.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome back. I'm Danny.
And I'm John.
And this is Watching My Stories.
It is.
And it's Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend.
And a special one to you, my love.
Oh, thanks, my love.
Mm-hmm.
Now that everyone stopped listening.
Aw. That's it. Touching moment over.
So we've moved.
We did.
We're coming at you from Orange County now. Super weird. What are you coming at you?
No. I was just thinking we moved. I was over there. No, I'm over here.
Yeah. It's been a tedious 3 weeks since we last spoke. But we're here and we're still surrounded by some boxes and some things are settled. So, you know how it goes.
Yeah. Anybody who's moved.
Yes.
This is worse.
It's awful. But we're here. We're back. I have a lot of stuff to talk about. No TV shows, weirdly enough. It's like all movies.
Probably a good idea with the list you have.
Yeah, so I'm in the middle of a bunch of shows, but I haven't finished anything yet. So, and then for our Actors Studio, we're actually going to cover the 2020 movies. I don't know why, other than we couldn't think of anyone for the Actors Studio.
We mailed it in and went easy.
So we figured since the year is just over, I guess, we would revisit the 2020 movies, which was a weird year for movies as it was.
It really was.
I only saw 54 movies last year, which is really weird. So anyway, we are going to talk about those.
I don't know how many I saw, but it was less than that.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to jump right in.
Okay.
The first movie I saw was the latest movie that I saw called Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar.
Mm-hmm.
Yee. This is the new movie from Kristen Wiig and Annie Mumolo, if I'm saying that right, or Mumolo? I don't know.
Annie.
Sorry, Annie. Anyway, the two of them obviously wrote Bridesmaids together, and this is their second project.
And this is Kristen's normal writing partner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it also had, the two of them stars Barb and Star, and also Jamie Dornan is in it, and Damon Wayans Jr. is in it a little bit, and then just a bunch of people. And so I was very excited for this, obviously, because I rented it on Friday, the day it came out. And I'm just going to start with saying it is absolutely a ridiculous movie, but it is so much fun, and it is exactly what I needed, like on Friday. Like, I was so happy watching it. It kind of reminded me at first of like Austin Powers, which again, I don't think I've seen all of the Austin Powers all the way through. Mm-hmm. But just to give you that, there's a little bit of that kind of ridiculousness to it, but it's also pretty clever and pretty funny. And of course, all of their funniness there. So they play two women from Nebraska, who worked at the Jennifer Couch shop or store or whatever. Remember the Jennifer Couches? Like, anyway, they're both divorced and they decide to take this trip to Vista Del Mar, which is in Florida. And hilarity ensues there with them. They're best friends. They live together, all that sort of thing. Wear culottes all the time. I mean, the film opens with the definition of the word culottes, which is just perfect.
Okay.
But there's this whole other thing, and I'm not going to give it away because it's pretty wonderful, which is where the conflict is. There's a villain, and Jamie Dornan is involved in that whole kind of villainy story, but he also meets up with Barb and Star and has, oh my God, they have a whole drug-induced night. They have a whole other, it's absolutely hysterical and perfect. And it made me so happy. It was one of those that I just had a smile on my face the whole time. And what it also could feel like is the two of them going, God, people are bugging us for a movie. They've been bugging us since Bridesmaids. We don't want to do a sequel. And then they kind of did some drugs and came up with this idea. You know what
So
I mean?
it's a-
And they were kind of like, the studios told us we can do whatever we want. We can do it with whoever we want. You know what I mean? And so they did it. And like, it's so awesome.
So the movie was effectively greenlit at 3 a.m.
It was
I
greenlit
got it.
years ago.
No, I know,
you know,
but it was a drug-induced decision.
idea. I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like a 3 a.m. movie.
Right.
I got it.
It's just wonderful.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
you know, it's one of those. Now, I think a lot of people might be upset to spend $20 to rent it because of that, because it's just silly.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, I mean, so even just what you see on a poster,
yeah,
the two of them.
yes,
If you're going to
the
rent
hair.
it for $20, you can't be disappointed because
Right.
that's what you're going to get.
yeah, the
Right.
way they, oh my God, their accents that they speak in, their hair, they talk constantly about, you could be a model for Chico's. I've told you that. You know, I mean, the small town kind of that's all funny on top of it's all, you know,
Okay.
again, I can't wait to watch it again and see more funny stuff. But go into it knowing there is no real, you're not going to get anything out of this other than funny silliness.
Mm-hmm.
You are not going to come out of this changed or whatever, you
Right.
know. It's not even one of those where I thought, like, I was like, oh, they're going to break up the friendship and then realize how much they love each other. And there's a little bit of that sort of thing, but it's not at all the point of the movie. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like, you know, the point is friendship. I mean, that's what you come out knowing, that it's obviously friendship, but it's just fun. It's just fun that we haven't had in a while. Again, it's kind of like, I can't really speak to the Austin Powers movies because I haven't seen them, but I can imagine it's that sort of thing. When you come out of those, you go, well, I didn't learn anything. I didn't get anything, you know, there wasn't any big change, or I don't feel different, you know, that sort of thing. But you had fun and you laughed. And that's what I felt with this, was just, and I'm so happy for them. And honestly, Kristen Wiig is one of those that I can watch do pretty much anything. So yeah, Barb and Star, go to Vista Del Mar. It's on pay-per-view right now.
Well, now I'm sorry I didn't watch it.
I told you.
Well, but I was working at the time. So
Oh, that's true. I did watch it
you know,
while you were
it
working.
would have been a bad idea. But
Yeah.
But if you say you want to watch it again, which you just did, maybe I'll
Okay.
give it a shot.
Okay.
I think I have a thing for her partner.
Annie?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. If people don't know who Annie is, go back to Bridesmaids, and when Kristen Wiig's on the plane and she's freaking out and the person that she's sitting next to is also freaking out, that's Annie.
Yeah.
Where she's like,
You'll know her when you see her.
Yeah.
She's been in several things. She was in Bad Moms, right?
The first was she one? Yeah, she was friends with Christina Applegate
Right.
and Jada Pinkett.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
she was the third one of them. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to next movie is a Netflix movie called To All the Boys, Always and Forever. This is the third in a series of 3. I have talked about the first one was like To All the Boys I've Loved Before. The second one was To All the Boys P.S. I Love You or something like that. And then this one, To All the Boys, Always and Forever. These are teen movies. This is with Lana Condor and Noah Centineo, who is like the new it guy. And these movies really made him be the it guy. You know Noah from Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that guy.
He's adorable. He's absolutely adorable.
Yeah.
And this character that they've made for him in these movies is one of those. There is not a 17-year-old boy out there who behaves this way. And in this movie especially, his behavior made me cry out loud twice. And I was just like, obviously a woman wrote this because there's just no way a boy that age, and barely men of any age, would behave this way. But anyway, it's been a lovely ride watching this whole thing. If people don't remember me talking about the first couple, this all started because the main character, Laura Jean, when she was in middle school, she wrote a bunch of love letters to a bunch of boys in the school, and she just put them away. And her little sister found them and like mailed them out when she was in high school. And so then all these guys started getting these old love letters, and it's super embarrassing, blah, blah, blah. Well, she ends up getting into a contract, you know, one of those movies like Can't Buy Me Love, where she goes to one of them, which is this guy, Kaminsky is his last name, and now I'm blanking on his first name, but they call him by his last name, and says, so I won't be so embarrassed when everyone gets these letters, you got a letter, can we just act like we're dating, blah blah blah. And of course then they fall in love. So that was the first movie. The second one was one of the other guys that got a letter showed up, and she kind of was hanging out with him, but was still in love with Kaminsky and all this stuff. And so that was kind of the turmoil of the second one. And this one, the turmoil was they're graduating from high school and they both have plans. He's going to Stanford. She's applied to Stanford because they're going to go to college and live happily ever after for the rest of their lives. And then she doesn't get into Stanford. And so then what's going to happen? And I really loved this story because it was, at first she didn't tell him. She told him she got into Stanford, and he threw this whole celebration thing for her and was so happy for her and for them. And then here's one of the times I cried, because she finally sits him down and she says, I didn't get into Stanford. We're not going to be able to be together, but I did get into Berkeley, so we'll be an hour away. And it's that moment in most movies where the guy, especially a teenage boy, would be like, you lied to me, and you that sort of thing. And instead he goes, are you okay? Because she didn't get into Stanford. I lost it because it was just not the reaction you're used to, especially in these types of movies. And he was just so lovely. He only cared about her feelings and how she was dealing with it.
So was this written by a woman too?
Yes.
Okay.
So anyway.
Sorry.
But men, pay attention. This is the way you should behave.
Yes. So
I'm going to just give away this movie, but you go back and watch the trilogy. It really is entertaining. And I think these were books. So, so anyway, she also gets into NYU, and on a senior trip they visit New York. She never thought it was a possibility, and she ends up falling in love with New York, because who wouldn't? And she goes through that turmoil now. Oh God, Berkeley, we're an hour away, and they had decided she would go to Berkeley for a year and then transfer to Stanford, and then they'd be together. And now she wants to go to NYU. And again, she finally tells him. And he doesn't freak out or anything at first. And then after a little while, he starts to realize, you kind of made this decision and, whatever. And they do break up. But then again, the next time that I cried was because he then writes her a letter saying, so sorry for my behavior, basically. And, of course, he said, of course you should go to New York if that's where you want to be. And if we're going to be together forever, then what's 4 years of our lives being apart during college? And it was just this beautiful little thing that, again, God, if I was a teenager watching this, again, it would ruin everything. But and I think I said this during the first movie, these movies today that kids are watching, these teen movies, again, are so much better. As much as I love my Breakfast Club and 16 Candles and all that, those are awful, the way the boys behaved in those movies. Yes. Women are treated horribly in those movies. And I love that now we're getting to these places where girls can see this is how you should be treated. By the fathers in the movies, by, the boys around them, even their friends. So it's actually really nice. But and I've talked about it before, this girl in this, Lana Condor, I love her so much. She is a breath of fresh air. I don't know why I haven't seen her in anything else. I think people just took on Noah because, of course, they always, love the boys more. But I love her so much. She's just so great. So she's part of the reason I've kept watching the sequel and then the third one. Okay. Anyway, they're all on Netflix. They're called To All the Boys, ... whatever. You might think that they're teen movies, but they're actually very enjoyable for me, at least. And the dad is, oh shoot, I'm blanking. Bo Derek's boyfriend, Sex and the City, and Nia Vardalos, and tie them all together.
I can't. I'm sorry.
Big Fat Greek Wedding. What is his name? Corbett.
John Corbett.
Yes.
Oh.
The dad. So that's the dad, and their mom died just a few years before the first one, and it's 3 daughters, and so they're all So there's a lot of stuff going on, but it's all super lovely and just yeah. So anyway, so that's on. So they're all 3 on Netflix. Definitely check them out. They're worth it. Next movie I'm going to talk about is another new one that's on pay-per-view called Promising Young Woman.
Here we go.
A lot of people have been talking about this. I think Carey Mulligan got nominated. I haven't even really paid attention to the Golden Globe nominations that much. But she deserves to. So this stars Carey Mulligan, and then it's a ton of comedic actors, which kind of plays with your mind a little bit, because you kind of think like Jennifer Coolidge is her mom, and Alison Brie, and I'm going to blank on everyone. Adam Brody's in there a little bit. But all these guys are like, Schmidt is in it. It's super weird because like Bo Burnham is it. I mean, like you think there's all these comedy people, and then it's so serious that it's like, oh my God. Anyway, I am going to, I'm not going to be able to talk about this movie because I loved it so much that I almost can't. It just makes me, I don't know the last time, and maybe Endgame, but in Endgame I was sitting in a theater, and I was in one of those stupid theaters where people were quiet and not cheering, but I was cheering this movie on. Like I was all over this movie. Like, so the point of it is Carey Mulligan plays a woman who's somewhere around 30, I guess, and every week she goes out to bars and pretends that she's stumbling drunk, and some nice man goes and, are you okay? Oh, let me help you get home. And then takes her to their house, and then always tries to rape her. And as soon as that really starts, or whatever point she feels fit, she then says that she's sober, and what the hell are you doing? And the men freak out. And it's a really interesting idea in itself, right? Because all these guys are, I'm a nice guy. Oh, really? Shut up. And she's like, I do this every week. You know how many nice guys this happens every week. So that's where you think the premise is, but obviously there's a lot behind it. There's a lot of stuff that happened to her and her best friend when they were in college. She was in med school. You find out she dropped out because of this event. And a lot of this is revenge, but not really. The most of the stuff she does on a weekly basis is really, she feels like, I think she's teaching these men, to stop. But then she gets triggered by a guy showing up from med school, and a revenge plan starts, to avenge her best friend. And that's where it gets really good because this woman is super smart, and has an agenda. Even going back to the college administration, which is Connie Britton, and letting her have it of, why didn't you do anything? And that typical response of, but we can't just ruin a young man's life because someone says something, because of an accusation and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, yeah, because now he's a great big doctor, and good for you that you didn't ruin his life. So that's all good. She's like, well, I hope the same for your friend. Is she okay? Well, no, her friend killed herself. So, so glad that you saved his life and not hers. Right. I'm going to get into a whole thing. So back to the movie. I'm just like, yeah. So anyway, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic movie. There's not a boring moment in it. There's not a boring second in it. It has got such a punch at the ending that is so wonderful. I can't say enough about it. I think everyone needs to see it. Whether or not no matter your age, your sex, everything, because I think there's a definite discussion there, because I think it would be a very interesting conversation for a lot of people, especially younger. I'd love to hear what millennials really think of it or whatever. And every time she goes out, she dresses up differently. Sometimes she looks like a businesswoman, sometimes she looks like a prostitute, sometimes she looks like just a party girl. It's always different. And so the kind of guys that come around to her aid, if that's what you want to call it, it's great. What a concept. What a wonderful original I don't know if this was a book or not. I don't know. I don't care. It was just great, and I can't wait for you to see it. Okay. Because it's just it's entertaining as hell, and yet such a message and so wonderful, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So
cool.
That's definitely worth the $20 rental. It'll eventually come to something, Netflix or something, but I say don't wait. Watch it now. Totally worth it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Next movie I'm going to talk about is another pay-per-view movie called Our Friend. This is based on a true story, and it stars Jason Segel, Casey Affleck, and Dakota Johnson. And this is a true story about the three of them being best friends. Casey Affleck and Dakota Johnson's characters are married and have kids, and then she gets sick. She gets cancer. And it's the story of the three of them. It jumps around in time, how they met, and then kind of time of their lives and how they've spent time together. And then a lot of time from her diagnosis on. And the reason it's called Our Friend is Jason Segel's character moves into their house to help take care of the kids, take care of the house, and take care of them during everything. And it's a lovely, lovely story because we've seen this a million times, like with beaches and stuff, where it's always a chick that comes in and whatever. And what I loved about this and how it was portrayed was, there's Jason Segel's lovely, right? And so him being able to take these kids and make them smile when they're just so angry at the world and all that sort of stuff during this time, and to also he also acts like a man, like he knows when he needs to be there and when he doesn't, what I mean, where there were times where I was just like, get in there, and then but he would stand back. That's not his, like when she actually dies, which is a spoiler, but of course that's what's gonna happen. He stands back, and it's his best friend, but right now the husband is there, and you don't need to get in place of it,
know where your boundaries are.
Yeah, but it's also still super lovely, and and a whole nother side of it was I felt like this was a bit more realistic when it comes to the suffering of cancer or any illness than I've seen before in a movie. And one, that's horrendous, but two, so much of my brain, and I don't know if it was planned for someone to kind of make the message, but so much of my brain kept saying, this is ridiculous. Why don't we have assisted suicide, in every state, because this woman having to go through this without any dignity, these two men are having to pick her up and put her in a shower, and what I mean? Like at that age, and at one point she goes psychotic. So they finally call in a hospice nurse, which is Cherry Jones, who is, if I could have any nurse in my world, I want it to be Cherry Jones. She's just the most that voice, like it's just like so perfect.
Everybody should have a Cherry Jones in their life. I mean, for anything.
Seriously.
The woman is just amazing.
And when she comes in, it's she's like, she needs to be on antipsychotics, and it's like, seriously, that happens? Like, because your brain just is going mad, and I'm like, there's nothing left at that point.
Well, yeah, imagine being in a body that's completely failing you,
right? That you don't even know about anymore.
And you can't get out of it. You can't leave. You can't.
And your children are having to watch this.
Yeah.
And you're having to, I don't want to get, whether it's political or not, we don't do that to our animals.
Right.
And I don't know why we force people to do it. So that was my brain in in those moments watching this, because it was so realistic, because I felt like it was going there, and those places that usually are skipped over in these movies, I really love it. Was a very beautiful story of such friendship and a partnership, and again they go through a lot of the marriage, because the marriage had issues, but when something like this happens, who really cares about what those issues were? It's and she has a whole bucket list. You know, she's like, okay, when they decide that the treatment isn't working, you know, she wants to be the leader of the Mardi Gras, and she wants to you know, all kinds of different things, dye my hair blue and all this stuff, you know. And she's telling this to the two guys, and they're just like, okay, you know, and they just get on it to start to make everything happen, which is also another lovely story. So this guy was a writer. The husband was a writer and journalist, and so he wrote like a little short story that was published called The Friend, about their friend who helped them this whole time. And that, I guess, got a lot of attention at the time. And so that's how then this turned into that. And you know, it's just, it's horrible. Like, look, I had a pile of tissues. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's very emotional, but it's also super lovely, and I think worth seeing because of that. Because it, you know, I think everyone's like, oh, we've had a hard year. This is a good humanity story, and you need that, even if you can overlook Casey Affleck.
Well, you can. I was hesitating saying anything about him, but you kind of hang your hat on, if you're going to have a good-natured friend in a movie. Jason Segel is a great. You know, probably the best. Actually, but and
his character isn't one-dimensional either. He's not just there for helping. He went through bouts of depression. He has his own thing that he's doing. So it's all good. It was a good story about these three people. Yeah. So that's on pay-per-view, called Our Friend.
Okay.
Next movie I'm going to talk about is a Netflix movie called Malcolm and Marie. This is the like black and white movie that just came out a couple of weeks ago with Zendaya and John David Washington. And I wanted to love this so much. So this is written and directed by the guy who like created Euphoria, which is Zendaya's show, and I haven't watched that. And I love her so much that I feel like I want to go watch it now, because I really, really love her. Like, I didn't watch any of her Disney stuff, obviously, but everything I've seen her in as this adult, she's just great and like so natural and just awesome. And she's wonderful in this, no matter how much I didn't like it. She's wonderful. And he's wonderful. Like, there's nothing to be said about the acting. The two of them, it's just the two of them in a house. It takes place in one evening. It feels like a play, but it wasn't. It was written for this. And when I think of, like, especially because it came out in February, and so you think Black History Month and, you know, that sort of thing. If I wanted to watch something with really good people and kind of like this, kind of speaking on a relationship and all of that, I'd say go watch Fences. And not this. My issue with this was, and it could just be me or something, I don't know, but it was awful. So like they're getting home from like his movie premiere, and it just turns into a thing, or not his premiere, it was an award show, and he won and he forgot to thank her, and that thing opens up like this entire portal to hell of their relationship. And the horrible things that he says to her, there were 10 times I probably said, get out, walk out that door, like trying to will her, because what he just said to her is unforgivable. Done. There's nothing more you can do. And yet she would stay, and she kind of would come back and say some, you know, meaner things or something, but nothing like, I mean, he was just letting loose on her in such a horrible way that it was like, what am I watching? And why am I watching this? You know, there was never a time where he came in and apologized. Not that an apology would even mean anything with the things he was saying. It was, remember last year or the year before, I don't remember, there was that Marriage Story with Scarlett Johansson and Kylo Ren. And I can't think of his name, Adam Driver. And I loved that movie, but it spanned a few years. You know, it was the dissolution of their marriage, and then during the divorce and how they started treating each other badly. And there was a horrible blow up fight in that movie where horrible things were said. but the collapse after that and the feeling horrible about saying such a thing makes a difference, you know. And so again, even with that movie, there was still it felt like these two were humans and could come back from it. With Malcolm and Marie, I didn't want her there. And I didn't want her there the next morning. And they kind of leave it open to what might happen next if you think that they're going to split up or whatever. But, you know, I couldn't figure out why either one was there after all of this crap came out, after they were saying horrible things to each other. Then why? You know, and there were times I tried to trick myself into going, well, you know, we've all had bad fights and we'll say something horrible like, you know, you've always made me feel like this or that or whatever. And you know, you can kind of come back. So I kind of thought, well, maybe this is their story of coming back from being so honest or whatever. And it just, no, it was like it would go way down and come up a little bit and then go down even further and then come up a little bit. And I even had to watch this in 2 parts because it was awful, like the things that were being said. And so I just couldn't figure it out. There were times where I liked the guy, but that was mostly when he was talking about his work. But whenever he was talking about the relationships and stuff that he was in, previous relationships, this one with Marie, he just seemed like such a horrible guy. So I can't figure it out. I don't know. And I could be way off and way wrong. I'd love to hear anyone else's opinions on it.
Well, that's the beauty of movies in general, but specifically about things like this, relationship movies. Nobody's really your interpretation of it isn't wrong. It's yours, right? It's just you could people have different interpretations, and somebody might see him as not that bad,
right,
and just a flawed guy or whatever. But you know,
and that's and if that's the case, I feel sorry for that person, because that's kind of my thing. Is it's not that you're just watching a bad night in a relationship. It was definitely the worst night. At one point she says this is probably the worst fight we've ever had.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing about you. You see things pretty clearly. But I'm telling you, and I don't want to get overly political, but there are a ton of people out there who can look past some pretty bad stuff and say, nah, it's not so bad. Right? I mean, here we are. So,
well,
and that is on them. And so there are a few absolutes, right? There are certain things you should never ever say to a person. And you should never feel towards another person. And if you do, the two of you need to get away from each other.
Well, that's how I felt during this, was if you're really able to say this out loud to her face or vice versa, and you feel that, what are you doing? Like, again, get out. Like, I don't...
Well, what are you doing as a person who's able to say that? But what are you doing as a person who hears that and doesn't get out?
Right. That was exactly my point. And so, not to, it's really comparing apples and oranges, but going back to the little teen movie to all the boys, it's like this one is like showing you how you really shouldn't be treated. And the fact that she didn't leave the house is like, what are we showing people? Versus this other one where she's being treated the way that I think. And again, there's a big difference between that. There's a whole utopian thing that you want to have in a relationship, sure. But this one felt like, again, Marriage Story shows people, a relationship crumbling, but in a way where there's still something underneath it, so you can understand why they were ever together in the first place. I go to Fences just because of, I think, just the comparison of black people, plus it's Denzel versus his son. And, and you hear Denzel so much when his son is speaking that it's just like crazy. But, Fences is such a complex play. And if you watch the movie, to me, I mean, I can sit and watch it anytime. And it's such a different time, and it's a different way of having a relationship and the way that things happen there. But I just wanted to, I compare those two because this one feels like a play. And so when you're watching two people in a relationship kind of interact with each other the whole time, my brain did go to Fences. I don't know why. And Marriage Story, because Marriage Story also felt like a play.
I think that's completely understandable going to those two.
So look, watch it or not. I love Zendaya. The performances by both of them are wonderful, but it was hard. It was really hard. It was a little traumatic. It was a little like, I don't know. There's some triggers there. I think for people who have been in bad relationships and maybe have heard such things being said to them, I can imagine they'd have to shut it off. I can't imagine they could make it through.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know what to say about it. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Right? Those kind of relationships and those people are out there.
Yeah.
Right? I don't feel the need or the desire or the want to watch one. Right?
Right.
I feel bad for everybody in something like that. And here's where I think it sounds like the director or the writer or whatever was a little misguided in probably thinking that showing Zendaya going through all of this and staying was her showing amazing strength.
Well, there's a whole backstory to it where she was a druggie. She was like, she had no life. It seems like she may have even been homeless when they met, and he took her in. He took her to rehab. This whole savior sort of crap.
Sure.
Where he announces he did that for other people too. So it's like he definitely has this kind of God complex thing. But then you also start to understand that maybe she feels like she owes him because he did all this
the
work.
obligation factor comes in.
So there's things there where you can go, I get why you're staying after maybe the first thing.
Yeah.
But after the whole night of this level, I don't get it. I don't get it. So
well,
I'll see. I mean, performance wise, it's great. I'd love for someone to explain to me why we needed to see that story.
We didn't.
I don't know.
There's no reason to see it other than it's a way to showcase these two particular actors' skills.
Sure, which that I get. Like if I'd seen this on stage with the two of them, I don't know that I'd care what the subject matter was as much, because I'd just be like, oh my God, they're so good, like live in front of me. Like I had an experience. Watching it in a movie takes that experience part away from it. You know what I mean? Anyway.
But when you watch people go through something like that, you have to find a message, right? Otherwise, what's the point of this?
Yeah, it's at the end I was crying because she gives this wonderful speech. Again, both of them have long speeches of one cuts and all that, and she gives this great speech of because he didn't thank her in the thing, and that starts so that we come back to it at the end, and she says, thank you, and she starts naming all these reasons he should say thank you. And it's something like where she made macaroni and cheese for him when they got home that night, to doing the laundry, to coordinating this or that for whatever project he's working on, to, all the little things, picking out your clothes in the morning, all that sort of stuff. She just goes on and on and on talking about, and he doesn't say anything at first. And it's like, you piece of crap. Like she's now told you exactly how she's seeing her side, and you're still not saying anything. And it takes him a while, and eventually he comes and he's just like, thank you. I'm like, that's not good enough, dude. I don't know. It was just, so anyway, it's on Netflix. Obviously, I think for people who want to watch it and see what your opinion is, and then maybe let me know how I'm off, because I don't know. So it's called Malcolm and Marie, and it's on Netflix. Okay. Next movie is on Apple TV Plus, and this is called Palmer with Justin Timberlake, who's getting canceled, and the little boy is Ryder Allen, and June Squibb is in it. June Squibb has had a great couple years. She's like in everything.
June Squibb. She
was Adam Sandler's grandmother in Hubie Halloween.
Oh, good for her. Table 19.
Yes.
Yeah.
The last couple
Okay.
years, she's like, I swear she's in everything.
Yeah. Good. Good for her.
She plays his grandmother. So Palmer is the story. We've seen it a million times. He gets out of prison after 12 years, and he comes home to live with his grandmother, and he's got to acclimate to the world, find a job, all that sort of stuff. In a trailer next to them lives this woman who has a drug addiction problem, and this little boy. And the mom takes off a lot. So you can see that the boy spends a lot of time with the grandmother. And when the mom takes off, she takes him in, because the woman literally just disappears. And that's kind of what happens. Is now Palmer's home, and this boy is staying with them. And he's a boy who likes to watch princess shows and play with Barbies and dress up like princesses and put makeup on and all that stuff. And so this kind of hardened, guy
criminal
who used to play football and stuff has a hard time with the kid. He's got a hard time with anyone at this point, right? And so as you would in any of these movies, obviously he develops a relationship with the boy and ends up wanting to take care of him forever and blah blah blah. This was a good movie. We've seen the story a lot, in different scenarios. Someone gets stuck with a kid and then they end up loving it, and even Big Daddy's in this category. You know what I mean? Like it's like there's that Chris Evans one with the little girl who was a genius, and there's Kate Hudson had her kids with that Gary Marshall movie. So it happens all the time. This is no different. There are a couple little twists in it. There's a little stress because this guy is just not emotionally available, we would say, but the thing I loved about it though was, he tried once or twice to be like, hey, you're a boy. And the kid would be like, yeah, so what? I play with dolls, so boys play with dolls. Like that was all he could say. And so he tried once or twice to say such a thing to him. And then after that, he gave up. And he was just like, okay, you want to be a fairy princess for Halloween? You're going to be a fairy princess for Halloween, so that was kind of nice that it wasn't a constant fight. It was kind of like in the beginning, like, you sure? Okay. Well,
right.
And you're going to get bullied and that sort of stuff. But, I'll protect you type thing. So that was a lot of fun. So it was nice to see the two of them kind of grow together and that sort of thing. And of course the mom comes back and she's in a horrible state and all that sort of stuff happens. But it was fine. It was good. He's good in it. He's good in it. Justin Timberlake, which he's good in everything he does. So, that's what happens when you get a break. So we're going to get to Framing Britney Spears in just a couple of movies.
His ability was never a question.
His ability is never a question.
His judgment and character now is...
Yes, that'll be. We'll get to that.
Yeah. We won't ruin him just yet. Give us about 4 minutes and we'll get to ruining Justin Timberlake.
Yes. Okay, so that's Palmer, Apple TV Plus. It's a good watch. It's a little slow and quiet, so you kind of got to be in that mood, and then you're gonna cry.
So I saw an interview on Ellen with this writer, Alan.
Yeah.
Right. Seems like an amazing little actor.
He's cute.
Was this him being himself, or was this him actually playing a character?
He was playing a character.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because from what I've seen just in the previews and the extended trailers and stuff, it seems so natural for a kid that age that, he's either really, really good at a really young age, or that's how he is and he was perfect for the role.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think he has that kind of sparkle thing, and it's kind of like, it reminded me a little bit of Abigail Breslin in Little Miss Sunshine, because it was like, they're just being a kid. What more do you need them to do? There wasn't a lot that he did that was outside of that. And so it was kind of like,
well, being themselves as a kid.
Right. Exactly.
Which is pretty amazing sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was good. And he's a good, I don't know, we'll see what happens with him. But, yeah. So that's Palmer.
Hollywood will spit him out.
Yeah. Next movie I'm going to talk about is on HBO Max. I guess it was also in theaters. Called The Little Things with Denzel Washington and Rami Malek and Jared Leto. This was an interesting movie. So it was about a serial killer that Rami Malek was trying to find and hunt down. Denzel was a former detective in town, and then he kind of went crazy trying to find his own serial killer. Not crazy, but he just got burnt out, and so he had moved on to a small town. He ends up back in LA because he's doing something else and gets involved in this new serial killer thing. I have an issue with Rami Malek. I don't know what it is. I don't enjoy watching him, so that was tough for me. Loved watching Denzel, of course. He was great. Jared's barely in it. Jared Leto. And they changed, they put brown contacts on him and they gave him this weird nose. And so it was a little weird. So it took a while to get going, the story. And then when it does, it's not at all what you thought it was about. We thought we were looking for this serial killer, and yeah, we may have found him, but you're not really sure. And it's more kind of about Denzel and what happened to him, and then it kind of becomes about cops and how maybe they take care of each other, cover up for each other.
No way.
So there's a lot of little things in the movie that come up that are a little different, and it was interesting because my sister actually texted me after. She's like, "Okay, so what happened?" It's one of those endings where it's open and you can interpret how you want to interpret. To me, it feels like a weird open ending because it's a very simple thing to prove pretty quickly. Without giving too many spoilers, basically they think they caught the serial killer, or they kind of, in a way. And so I'm like, well, it's going to be easy to decide if he was, right? Like, there's either going to be another killing or there's not, so it's like, it's not really open for someone's interpretation. It's because if they're thinking they got him and another dead person shows up, well, then you're screwed up again and you got to keep looking, so anyway, probably thinking way too much into it.
Yeah.
Probably being too literal. But anyway, that's kind of my 2 cents. I'm glad it was on HBO Max and I could just watch it for free. And, I love Denzel. I wish someone else had been in Rami Malek's role. It just he pulls me out of everything. I don't know what it is. I don't have that many people like that that I really just don't enjoy watching. So anyway, so that's the little things on HBO Max.
Okay.
Now we're going to get into some documentaries, starting with Framing Britney Spears, which is on Hulu. This is a New York Times documentary, long overdue. I'll try not to get on my soapbox here because I have been pissed at the world ever since they deemed her crazy, because I knew she wasn't crazy. So I'm going to try not to get into a whole bunch, but go watch the documentary, whether you were a fan of hers or not, as a human being, because no person of her age should have been treated like this. She should not be in a conservatorship. Her father, who was never around, shouldn't be in charge of her life. You can see they do a clear timeline of from when she was little on Star Search to Mickey Mouse Club to Baby One More Time, and how much she was involved in her own career. People were not controlling her. People were not doing anything, to getting married, to having kids, to that blowing up, and then that starting what people consider her craziness. Well, she's a mother who has gotten through a divorce and people won't leave her alone, and give me a break. Again, I saw something the other day that said, so we labeled her as crazy for the things that she did and said, but yet Kanye West is a genius. And I thought, yeah, because he's a man. Again, that's a whole nother thing that the documentary really highlights, is how different she was treated all her career, versus any boy band members or male members of the industry. Constantly being asked if she was a virgin, constantly being asked about all that sort of stuff. Like, it's so sickening. And I thought it was sickening then, so it definitely goes into that. The reason we were talking about Justin being canceled is a lot of people do want to cancel him now. The documentary talks about how he let her take the brunt. He let her be called the slut and different names. He let the story go out there that she cheated on him, which it appears no one really knows really what happened. He then wrote that Cry Me a River and made her look worse because of that. And he was never hurt by any of that. If nothing else, he was, it was like the Jennifer Aniston thing, right? Like, she's the sweetheart and Brad Pitt was the horrible person. And it's not only the stuff with Britney. Like, now people are revisiting the whole Janet Jackson thing. He let her take the fall when that was a whole planned thing. He just stood back and let Janet take everything that, there's actually a lot of stories now coming out about a lot of things like that when it comes to Justin. Like, Oh, there was something else. There's a lot of stuff coming out. So again, if you want to look that stuff up, look it up. Feel free.
Right.
It's one of those tough things. Was he just protecting his career, or is he really trash? I don't know. You know what I mean? I think if he doesn't come out right now and try to say something that's good enough, then I think he's trash.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I saw even a Oprah clip where it was like 7 years after they broke up, and this was when she was going through her stuff, when she shaved her head and all that. And he was on Oprah and she was like, what do you make of this and all that? And he was like, his answer was just, I don't know her anymore. We haven't been together for 6 or 7 years. Like, I don't know, and Oprah says something about, well, do you think she's crazy or whatever? And he was like, is that what they're calling her? And Oprah said, well, yeah. And he goes, all I can say is, back then she was a good person and had a good heart. Like, he wouldn't stand up for her then, and
see to me, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Well, that doesn't necessarily show that he's trash. He just lacks some integrity, because you should never, you either have it or you don't, where somebody you're seeing, somebody you know very well, whatever, is being bombarded with something from outside sources. You either stand up for them or you don't, right? And he didn't.
Right.
And I don't know that means he's trash, but it certainly means he lacks some integrity.
Well, that's basically what we're getting at, right? Is especially the Janet Jackson thing. That was awful. And people at the time kept saying, where's Justin? Where's Justin? Why isn't he speaking out about this? Right. He just ran away and didn't do anything about it. Yeah. And let her take the fall. Mm-hmm. So there's been quite a few things now coming out about that. It's a different, getting back to Britney, it's very much, it's really hard to see her going through what she's going through. There was just another conservatorship 2 days ago, another hearing, her dad trying to get back into it. So the last deal last year was she wanted her dad removed. And there are 2 conservatorships, one on her and one on her finances in the estate. And she wanted the financial part given to a bank. And in a way she won, because it was given to a bank and still her dad. Well, her dad's been complaining about this. I can't work with a bank. How am I supposed to work with a bank? Blah, 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 blah. So he went back this week and tried to get the bank removed. And luckily they didn't. So as of right now, he still has someone overseeing him, which, see how it feels, jerk. But it doesn't make any sense. She's a grown woman. She's worked her butt off. She refuses to work ever again until her dad is removed from the conservatorship. Her estates were $60 million and he's just taking money. That's basically what he's doing. There's been a lot of stuff coming out. There's a lot of podcasts about this stuff about, that she's been forced into mental institutions when she does stuff that people don't like, her dad or whatever, they'll just take her away. Her current boyfriend has come out in the last week and said her dad's a piece of crap and can't stand the guy. So it's interesting. Kevin Federline has even come out and said that her dad's awful. So it's a consensus. But no, people say in this documentary they'd never seen a conservatorship reversed. It's just not something that happens, because normally it's on older people.
Well, there's got to be a first.
And so those people die.
Yeah, there's got to be a first for everything, but it should be, I don't know what she'd have to do to prove, maybe she has to prove her sanity or something to the court. It would be sad if that's the case, but if that's why her dad is saying that he needs to be the conservator.
Right, but she's asked for her sister to take it over. Her mother has tried to take it over, and it's just,
Well, I don't fully understand conservatorships, so I'm coming from a slight place of ignorance. But I would imagine, there has to be a way to say, remove the conservatorship. Don't give it to somebody else. I'm a grown woman, and I'm here. I'm with it. I'll take whatever test you need me to prove that I'm not insane. That however I got into this, let's prove that I'm not that, and just dissolve the conservatorship.
Right.
And that's what should happen.
That's what they're trying to do.
That's what should be able to happen.
It's not an easy task. So they're going to keep on it. And this movement Free Britney movement has gone far, and it's reached her. And there's a whole podcast that just analyzes her Instagram posts and to see if there's hidden meanings in them. There's been people who say she doesn't actually have the freedom to post anything, that everything has to go through the people, her dad, the people that he's put in place. There's a whole barrier of people that even New York Times couldn't get to her for this. Like, you can't get past her dad's people.
I'm incredulous.
It's horrible. Michael Jackson didn't have a conservatorship. There are. We can go through a million, and again, it's all going to be men that we're going to think of that are crazy, and nothing happened to them. But she's a woman, and I can't. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, it's totally worth watching. It's only like 80 minutes long or something. It's really interesting. It really opens your mind to media bias and how they can really sell a person's reputation one way or the other. So it's called Framing Britney Spears. Easy for you to say, on Hulu.
Okay.
Only got 2 left. Next one is on Netflix called Crime Scene: The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel. This is a 4-part documentary looking into the Cecil Hotel here in LA, as well as the disappearance and death of Elisa Lam. I think everyone knows the elevator photos of video of Elisa Lam being in the elevator, acting strange, blah, blah, blah. And then they find her a couple weeks later in the water tanks on top of the hotel. This series is really well done. We tried to watch a Discovery Plus series on this, a show with what's your people?
Zach Bagans.
I can't stand the guy. We tried because they were doing an episode on just this occurrence.
The show is Ghost Adventures, by the way.
But it was a special. Was it called Ghost Adventures?
Yeah, it was Ghost Adventures.
Cecil
investigates
Hotel.
The Cecil Hotel.
I couldn't do it because they're just so awful. They're the worst investigators I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
Anyway, so we had to shut that off. But then this was coming out. This does a really, really good job of giving the entire history of the hotel, from when it opened and it was great and grand to then when the Depression happened and it's become part of now Skid Row here in LA. And over the decades, who's usually there, like Richard Rodriguez was there. There's another serial killer who stayed there. Ramirez. What was it? Night Stalker. Was it Ramirez or Rodriguez?
Richard Ramirez.
Okay. So there's been a lot of bad stuff. People have jumped out of windows. People have overdosed. There's a lot of deaths.
There's been a lot of deaths there.
Yeah. And, people, Satan worshipers, all that sort of stuff. So there's been a lot of stuff. So then when this happened with Elisa Lam, it was kind of like, oh, was she possessed? Oh, was she, whatever. And this 4-part series really goes in depth to all of the conspiracy theories that could have happened with her. And eventually comes down to their own ruling that it was just a horrible accident because of her bipolar disorder. And when you watch it, because I've heard that before, and I was always like, no, don't blame it on her mental illness, But when you watch it, for me at least, I agree with their whole assessment. I don't think there was anything else going on other than that. But it's definitely worth watching because there are a lot of details in there, and it's pretty interesting. So,
okay,
that's on Netflix called Crime Scene: The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel.
Okay.
The last one I'm going to talk about, I can't really talk about it all other than to beg and plead everyone to go watch this. And I'm trying to plan a special time for you and I to sit and watch this because it was, I'm going to cry just thinking about it. So it's Derek Delgaudio's In and of Itself. It's on Hulu. Is it on Hulu? Yes.
I think.
I might need to look that up. This was a show that he did in New York on Broadway, in whatever year before we shut down, 2019.
Yeah.
And I had heard of it at the time. Celebrities had gone and seen it and talked about it. Frank Oz directed it, which is also pretty cool. So Derek is like and I can't even really tell exactly what he is. He's a magician, but he's also a performance artist.
Okay.
And he's done some other stuff. I'm pretty sure it was Hulu, but I could be way off. I don't care. Just go search for it. So Frank Oz directed it. Stephen Colbert produced it, him and his wife. Anyway, it's indescribable, the show. You don't even have any idea what's happening.
Okay.
He tells a bunch of stories. There's like six kind of stories in there that he tells. It's interactive with the audience. The first thing is when the audience comes into the theater, there's a huge board of tiles that all say I am, and then all different things. I am a creator, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a reflection, I'm a goody, I'm a whatever, and everyone has to pick one, and then they tear it in half, and it all goes in a pile on the stage that he uses throughout the night. That's about all I can say. It's a trip, and okay. I bawled harder than I probably have in a while. Mm-hmm. It's one of those kind of performance pieces where you think he's looking into people's souls and you don't understand how he's doing it. Mm-hmm. Remember that Maria Abramovich documentary? Did you ever watch that one where she just sat and looked at people and like I cried through the whole thing and I didn't
people come in and sit down opposite her?
Right.
Yeah.
Now Maria is a friend of his and she's in the audience at one point and it freaked me out. There's a lot. Bill Gates is there and his other friend is David Blaine.
Okay.
Tim Gunn. And when you see all of these people break down crying, I can't even explain it, but I think everyone's outcome is your own. So I'm not even going to give my outcome because it feels like it's a very personal experience. Would have loved to have seen it in person, but I'm so glad I didn't because I would have been such a mess that it would have been really embarrassing because it was a very small little black box theater. This guy's amazing. He's a great storyteller, a wonderful actor telling these stories. He does a whole thing on cards and sleight of hand, which is something I've never seen before. He was a card dealer for like some not good people, and he shows how he would deal them out so someone would win, and it's crazy. So anyway, just go watch it. Let me look this up real quick. Okay, I was right. It is on Hulu. Okay. So Derek Delgaudio's In and of Itself. Just search In and of Itself. It'll come up. And watch it. And there's not a second that isn't wasted. And just be prepared for something to happen within you.
Okay.
Yeah, I cannot wait. Like the whole time I was watching, I was like, I cannot wait to sit and watch this with you. But it has to be a time where we really have that time like devoted to it, where we're not eating while we're watching it, or you know what I mean? Like it needs to be something we just sit and watch.
We focus.
Yeah. And I can't wait. I can't wait to have someone to talk to about this. Like that's I think where a lot of people might come out of this going, oh my God, I got to talk to someone about this. What did they think of it? What did they get out of it? How did he do that? You know, those sorts of things.
Okay.
Lovely, wonderful, just amazing. So In and of Itself on Hulu right now.
Okay.
Go and watch.
Okay.
So that's that.
All right.
We're running a little long today, but it's been 3 weeks. So, you know, we can do a little long.
Sure.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about the 2020 movies. I tried to keep it to 3 on each thing, but I think a couple of these I went over. I only saw 54. A lot of these are either on the DVR or, you know, like there are a lot that I still want to see, which was kind of upsetting because I was like, oh crap, I didn't see that. You know, so there's definitely a lot that we have to catch up with.
Okay.
But
that's,
for the most part, I think we're good.
That's fair.
All right. So let's start out with you. What movies did you love in 2020?
Okay. Movies I loved in 2020. Hamilton.
Okay.
I mean, that was never really in danger.
Yeah.
My hesitation with it at all was that the somehow the filming of it wouldn't do justice to the play, to the live.
Right.
But it really did.
Yeah.
It was still moving and amazing. Jingle Jangle.
Yes.
I really loved that.
That was under my secretly love, but yes, so good.
super intelligence.
So sorry. That is under my secretly love as well.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I liked the idea of it, the premise of it, and then the way it was done even better than I hoped. It never felt
preachy.
Not preachy. It never felt farcical. Right. You see Melissa McCarthy's going to be in a movie, and there's a certain expectation of zaniness and craziness and whatever, and it never felt like that. She was funny. Mm-hmm. It was funny, and in some unexpected ways, but it was never a ridiculous movie. Over the top. Thank you. I enjoyed it as I hoped I would, and actually probably more.
Yeah.
So I just loved it
for sure.
Also in that same sort of vein, Godmothered. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really ended up loving that movie, and it was all because of her.
Yeah.
Because of Jillian
Bell.
Yeah. The premise was cute and all that stuff, and it was Kristen Bell, right? No, who was she godmothering?
Oh, Borat's wife.
Well, whoever it was.
Yeah.
I thought, I didn't know what to expect, but it was just better than I expected, and it was all because of Jillian Bell.
Oh, good.
I mean, I really like her. And then the last one I have in this category, and is probably my favorite, and I can't wait to see it again to catch more things, was Soul.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have Soul under like.
Oh, I loved Soul.
Good.
Yeah, it was just, it met and beat my expectations as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so under my love, The Invisible Man. Loved it. I watch it a lot now that it's on the movie channels.
Mm-hmm. I knew that was coming.
I loved the twist and the update on it. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Promising Young Woman that I just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the best movies of last year. And Onward. So, you know, you have the same year, Onward and Soul. That's why I put Soul under like, because to me, Onward spoke more. I've watched it over and over and over again. And I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
So
great.
Those were mine.
Okay.
Movies you liked.
So movies I liked, I got it down to 6.
Oh my.
I don't have honorable mentions and things like you do, so I put things in categories.
Okay.
The Invisible Man.
Okay.
I did like that. Not really my type of movie,
No.
really. I don't like the tense dramas.
Yeah.
But and it was all Elizabeth Moss. It was all her.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I liked it. Onward.
Okay.
You know, I really like that. The Lovebirds with Issa Rae and Camille Nanjiani.
Didn't we turn that off?
No.
I didn't watch the whole thing.
I don't think so. I think I watched the whole thing.
I don't remember watching the whole thing. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't love it.
Yeah.
But I liked it, and it was all because of her.
Right.
Yeah, she was great in it, and he was okay.
Yeah.
Where he was in over his head or reacting to being in over his head was where it was the best.
Right.
But I liked it.
Okay.
Mulan.
Okay.
I liked. Didn't love it, but I liked it.
Okay.
Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Yeah.
I liked it, and it was almost 100% for the nostalgia.
Sure.
The movie wasn't great.
It was a good ending. I came out of it thinking I needed that.
Yeah.
I needed the ending. I'll take it.
Here's the thing. If you like a movie because of the ending, to me...
No, the ending of the trilogy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
In my mind, that's kind of the same thing. The bulk of the movie was basically forgettable. The end of it was great. So I think that to me adds up as a solid like.
Yeah.
And it was, Keanu Reeves and what's his face? Winters. So, I liked it.
Yeah.
And then Wonder Woman 1984.
Okay.
Well, I have a different perspective.
Okay.
I mean,
that you don't need a story as long as she's in it.
If Gal Gadot is running around a screen for 2 hours, I'll like the movie.
Okay. Chris Evans could be butt naked in a movie, and if it sucks like that, I'm still gonna thumbs down.
I don't believe that, and I challenge you.
Okay, I challenge him.
Yes,
please do that so I can decide.
Just so she can say she doesn't like it when she really does. Mm-hmm.
All right, so my likes Soul, because it just wasn't as much. I didn't love it as much as Onward.
Really?
Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Again, after talking about fences, I think I talked about this recently. So it's so good. And I hate to. It feels like you're jumping on the bandwagon because everyone's just like, "Oh, Chadwick Boseman." But it's true. It's him. I mean, Viola Davis is amazing, but him and the guys that he's in these scenes with, it's just so good. And then on the complete other side of the spectrum, and I can't believe I wrote it down, but honestly, going through these movies, I was like, I enjoyed that movie.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
The Wrong Missy.
Oh my God.
I know. But it was fun, and it was actually, I think because it was so much better than I thought it was going to be.
Wow.
I think that's what kind of kept it in my head of like, I think that was one of those that I liked.
Funny.
I know.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
I know. Okay, movies you hated.
So I actually put 3, and they're not, I didn't hate these, but I did not like these.
Okay.
The American Pickle.
Well, yeah, that's on mine too. We didn't even finish it.
Seth Rogen is one of my guys.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a handful of actors that I really just, the mere mention of their name, and I either laugh or I'm like, oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And he's one of them, and it was just so disappointing.
Awful.
Yeah, it was not good. I did not see like the first 15 minutes of this, so I temper this with that.
Yeah.
But let them talk.
Let them all talk. Yeah.
Whoever.
You actually missed like the first hour of it. Just felt like 15 minutes. Yeah, it was awful. It's on my list too.
Yeah,
it was awful.
how you
Steven
have
Soderbergh, awful.
I just missed it. How you have those people together and it just does not work.
Yeah,
it's almost amazing, and it's ineptitude.
Yeah.
So anyway, and the other one, and this is another guy that falls into the category for me, The Midnight Sky.
What was that?
George Clooney.
Oh yeah, I completely.
Yeah, I just did not.
I didn't even think of it.
It felt so
Ugh.
tired right from the beginning. Like it's been done before. You knew it was coming, and it wasn't a good journey.
Right.
It was weird and long and just not good. And I feel bad for George because he's one of my guys. But
yeah,
I'm sorry, George. That was not a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
So I also had American Pickle and Let Them All Talk. I also have Doolittle, which I tried.
I didn't even try.
And I just couldn't. Unhinged, which I talked about on here with Russell Crowe.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely awful. And You Should Have Left, which was disappointing with Kevin Bacon. It was just it was so disappointing.
You Should Have Left is really, you shouldn't have been made.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Secretly Love.
I got one movie on here.
Okay.
And it's probably not a secret to anybody who knows me and listens to me, but Hubie Halloween.
Yeah. I knew you would.
It wasn't a good movie.
It wasn't bad.
It wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't a good movie, but because it was Adam Sandler,
right?
And the premise and there were a lot of funny parts. Yeah. So all that adds up to.
Well, and now we have a Halloween movie to watch.
Yeah, I really liked it, but I wouldn't admit it in every setting.
Okay, so on here I also had Jingle Jangle and Superintelligence, and my third one is that Eurovision song contest one with Will Ferrell.
Oh, I forgot all about that one.
I really enjoyed that one, and I go back and listen to that music a lot. It was much better than I was expecting. So, all right, embarrassed you haven't seen
Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Okay.
Yeah. I will see that at some point. I really, especially after you saw and described it the way you did.
Yeah.
I really kind of feel like I missed out on something.
For sure. Any others?
No, that's it.
Okay. So embarrassed I haven't seen. I have Tenet because I still haven't seen that. Christopher Nolan. I know. I feel so bad about it. And The Gentleman. Which
I don't really feel bad about not seeing the Tenet. I'm a little irritated because of his stance on it.
Because he only wanted it to be seen in theaters?
he would not relent, and
I don't mind that.
I
think as a filmmaker, it's like a chef who puts together a dish, and then you go, well, can you take that off and that off and that off and that off? It breaks the whole dish.
I understand that,
so it doesn't bother me.
I understand that, and it's all ego driven from his standpoint. I get that, but that's like
no. I think you create something for a certain place. And so that's where you want it to be seen. And
the world throws you a huge curve, and you either adjust or you don't. You stick to your guns, and that's ego. In my book, we can disagree about that. That's fine. But then your movie had better be pretty freaking good. And I've heard mixed things about it. So I understand if you're going to stick to your guns over... I understand if you're going to stick to your guns over something like Inception or something like that. And this had better, in my mind, this had better be that good. and the things that I've heard about it aren't. So, look, I love Christopher Nolan, and I'll watch his movies. And I'll see this at some point, too. But I'm not holding it, I'm not putting it on a pedestal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything you're adding to your watch list?
The Gentleman.
Okay.
Yeah. And Irresistible.
Yeah. Well, we've got that on the DVR now.
Yeah. Yep.
Mine, I've got News of the World, the Tom Hanks one. One Night in Miami, I've started it. The Regina King, she directed it. I've got to finish it.
Oh, by the way, we had the discussion about whether that was true events or not.
Right.
That actually happened.
I thought I looked it up and it didn't.
No,
it was
those guys actually did get together. What's fictional is how the conversation went, because there's no record of it and nobody knows.
Okay.
So that's the fictional part. But those guys actually did all get together one night.
Oh, okay.
Which is pretty cool when you think about it.
Yeah, yeah. So I got to finish that one. Uncle Frank is on Amazon. It's Paul Bettany. It just looks like a good story to me.
Mm-hmm.
And Freaky, the Vince Vaughn one, I think it looks entertaining.
Okay.
I could be way off.
Okay.
I could have actually listed, because there were a ton.
Sure.
There were still a ton of movies last year that I haven't seen that I still want to. So, we'll get to them.
Yeah, and last year was a strange year. There's a ton of movies out there that a lot of people didn't see.
Right.
That are probably pretty good, but you just haven't heard about them because very few people got to see them.
Yeah.
So, yeah there's a lot out there.
We'll get to them.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
so that was a long day.
That was exhausting.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging in there, Julie.
Yeah. So, I guess that's it. We'll now start on our 2-week schedule again, and we'll be back then.
Yeah, hopefully my back doesn't hurt as much in 2 weeks.
Oh, my gosh. Hopefully we're fully unpacked in 2 weeks.
Oh, man, I hope. Yeah, we better be.
Yeah. All right, everyone.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, we digressed.
Have a great couple weeks. Until then, I'll be watching my stories.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye.